Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be fitting AP Racing Coilovers to an R56 Mini Cooper S. I realise the video is a bit of a long one, but before we get right into it, I just want to say, if you're like a bit of a newbie and you've not done this before, I'd suggest starting on the rears like what I've done in the video. The rears are a lot simpler to do than the front, so you can just make mistakes on the back and it's not as bad. It's just a little bit simpler. So I'd suggest doing the backs first, getting your head around what you actually need to do, then move on to the fronts, and it'll make the fronts a lot easier. So yeah, with that out of the way, I reckon we just get straight outside and start working on the car. Boy, first time. Right, so now you've got the car jacked up, what you want to do is just take the wheel off. So it's nice and simple. It's a 17 mil. There we go. There you go, so once you've got the wheel off, what you want to do is come around the back, and you've got two lines here. I think these are for the ABS, and then this one's for the handbrake. Right, so you can't see, but I've now got rid of these two lines. So they're both flopping around behind, which means the strut is only being held on by the bolts. Right, so from here, what you want to do is you want to get 13, and there's two bolts up in here that you need to remove. One on the left side of the strut, one on the right side, and they're like up under the thing, so you can't really see them. I will show you in a second. And there's also an 18 just down there. And you just want to remove this from the back, and that removes the bottom of the strut. So I'm going to start with the 13s first, I think. And now we're going to start. So now we're going to get this bottom one, which again is the 18. Right, so that bottom one's removed. The bolt's not out yet. But when you remove it, you want to be careful because the bottom of the strut is has like a little cup that holds it into this bottom arm. So when you push it, it will like shoot out the bottom. There you go, like that. Can you see? Yeah, there you go. So you can see the bottom bit. It's got this little like cup thing that sits inside this arm. There you go. So that's the bottom removed. Now I've still got to keep going and get these two 13s out. Right, so these bolts up here are now loose, so I can just undo them by hand. If you struggle to undo them by hand, lift up the coilover and it just takes some of the tension off the, the bolt head, so you can undo it. That's one out. And we dropped it. But there you go. So that's those two. Those are two little 13s. And that's the 18 that you pull out from the bottom. And then once you've done that, you should just be able to slide the coilover out. Just be careful of these, like the ABS lines and stuff. There we go. Boom. Right, so with this one off, we've obviously got the coilover here that we're going to install. The only thing is, as you can see, the coilover doesn't have a top mount, so we're going to have to use the top mount from the old one. And we've got new bushes for the top mount. So yeah, what we've got to do is compress this spring, so when you undo this, you don't end up with like a little cannon. Then we do the same on this one, although because these have the adjustable like bottom mount, you can just screw these all the way down and then get the spring on without much like in the way of compressing it, just because you've opened up the gap between the bottom mount and the top mount. What I like to do is get the spring compressors on and then wrap a towel around it and then undo the end, just in case there is still pressure there. The towel will catch the top mount or anything that does shoot off, instead of it like exploding out into the middle of nowhere, or worse, hitting yourself. Got my spring compressors. They're really simple to use if you've never used them before. This bottom one is threaded, so it won't move. And this top one isn't threaded, so you can slide it up and down. There's your standard 1/2 inch that you put in there. And what this will do is it brings the two arms together, and you'll have your spring in the middle of that. And that's what compresses it. So this one on, I can just tighten it up. There you go, that's compressing the spring. So I'm flipping it over to the other side. You want to do it a little bit at a time, never do one side all the way down, because you'll end up, like the spring will be bowed. That's not really working, but you get what I'm saying. You want to keep the spring flat and try and compress it evenly. Alright, so with We're now ready to undo the top bolt. So this is where I like to use the towel. So what I'll do is basically just lay it on the floor. Put your coilover in it, wrap it up like a little baby. And then using your impact, you could do it with a ratchet if you want. So as you can see, I've got my impact leant up against this beam here, which ain't going anywhere. Then you can stand on the coilover like this and just undo it. And there you go. Now, because the spring wasn't like perfectly compressed, I felt it move. Because the towel's wrapped around it and you stood on it, it's not going to explode anywhere. So it's quite controlled. So there we go. You want to make sure you keep these bits in the order they come off. So in this case, you've got the bolt. Then you have this little washer, the top rubber bush. Then you've got the actual top mount and the bottom half of the rubber bush. If we take this out, now from here you can take off this section, bumps, the bump stop and the little washer that I just slammed against the wall. And there you have it. Now you've got your compressed spring and your strut. So we need to do the same for the coilovers. Although because it's so loose, like I said, we won't need to compress the spring right now. And what you want to do when you're undoing these springs and you're uncompressing them is again do it a little bit at a time. Yeah, so just do one side at a time, a little bit each time. It reduces the stress on the spring compressors, and also, you know, just keeps the spring straight, so it's less likely to pop off. There you have it, and that's the spring removed. We didn't lose any teeth. All right, so with the stock strut and spring all taken apart, we're ready to, you know, take this one apart and transfer the top mount onto it. That's the wrong size. Definitely the wrong size. So these are AP Racing Coilovers, pretty sure. And for some reason they use a 17mm for the top bolt. As you can see, when I'm spinning this, although you might not be able to see it, but the strut inside is spinning. So this tube, this bit here can rotate inside the shock body. If this is happening on yours and you can't seem to get it undone, which is fine, I can just whack it with the impact driver and it'll come off. If you can't, you can always grab a pair of mole grips and a towel. Set your towel up. It's like you want to force the towel in between the cores of the spring so you can get your mole grips on and squeeze the squeeze the, I don't know what that's called, the strut tube. But you don't want to squeeze it too tight. Make sure it's really gentle. So with the mole grips, you can obviously adjust them so they're, you know, they got a tighter grip or a looser grip. You want to put it on so it's quite tight, and then just gently keep loosening it until you can do it with, you know, barely any effort. I'm not sure if you can crush them, but it's obviously, you know, it's better to err on the side of caution than to, you know, squash your brand new coilovers. There we go. We're going to take these off. Now we got that off, we can get rid of the mole grips and the towel. Right, so once you've got the bolt off, and you can take everything apart. Oops, drop that. What you want to do is just take them apart. Again, we'll remember which order everything's in. So it goes, you've got your top mount, and you've got your bump stop, and your spring goes over the top of all of that. To make it easier to put the spring on instead of using spring compressors, I'm just going to loosen this little grub screw inside the collar of the coilover. And then you should, so I can't move them by hand, so what I'm going to have to do is grab the tool. And there we go. Now let's put it all back together. We'll put the spring back on. Sorry, the spring on, the bump stop, top mount. Now you see the springs moving around, so we should have plenty of room to get the bushes and all that back on. Right, so let me show you. This is the old bush. I don't know if you can really see, but there is a big hole here where there's a load of material missing. It's also quite thin in comparison to the brand new one, which is quite thick. And obviously we haven't got all the missing material. So we're gonna put that one on there. You don't want your top mount. It don't really matter which way you put it on at this stage because you will be able to rotate it. Now we're gonna put on the other new mount. So this is again is the old one. This one doesn't look too bad, to be honest. It's definitely been crushed quite a bit. So this will hopefully help the knocking. I'm gonna put that on. Grab the washer, and this goes, you know, like the concave side down. And then we should be able to get another bolt on. And there we go. And now, you know, because it's still loose, I can rotate this round. Rotate this round. So that we know when we go to put it in the car, we can align it properly, make sure everything's in the right place, then tighten this bolt down. Right, so now with everything pretty much assembled, we're ready to line everything up. So I find it easier going in from the bottom. I don't know if there's a mark on all of them, but on these ones, I got a little yellow mark here, and I know that means that's got to face into the car. So the mount looks like that. It's a little bit of a weird angle. You'll know if you've got it in the wrong way because it just won't fit at all. So from here, I find it easier going in from the top instead of out from the bottom like we did last time. Again, you want to be careful of these ABS lines and stuff. Slide it up in where you've got the mount at the bottom. You can see. You want to make sure it's facing the right way, so twist it towards you or away from you. What you want is the, you know, the round, like cupped bit that will slot into there. So there we go. So I think that's pretty good in terms of angle. I'm going to take it out. It's going to come out the top. Really dusty. Okay, yep. So now we've got it out the top. Now what you want to do is tighten your top bolt. Get your spanner on the top. Grab the mole grips, and then you can just tighten it. Sure, there's definitely a correct torque spec for this, but I don't have it to hand. It's got the nylock nut, so it ain't gonna come undone. Yeah, so now we're ready to put this in for the last time. Oh yeah, also I did do the bottom mount up a bit just so the spring's not flopping around. Just makes it a bit easier to put it in. And I've twisted that. It's all in the wrong spot, but luckily I can still twist it to put it back in. So let's go. So what I normally try and do is just get these top two in, just like by a couple of threads by hand. Like that. Once you've got one in, then you can let go. And the whole thing's supported by that bolt. Yeah, that one's on, and then in theory, okay, so the arm, as you can see, this needs to come up a bit so that we can slot the bottom mount in. And there we go. So I'm not going to make you watch all this because it's pretty boring. Once you've got everything bolted in, you've got to obviously remember to snap the ABS line back into the back of the coilover. But yeah, so you want to snap that in, and also remember to snap the handbrake cable. I think that's the brake line. I've been calling it the handbrake cable, but it's the brake line. Still got to make sure both of them are in. Right, so hopefully you're feeling a bit more confident now you've completed the rears. With everything, you know, tightened up, you're ready to put the wheel back on, and you can call the back done. So now we're going to move on to the fronts. Again, the fronts are a little bit more complicated, but it's really only because there's more steps to it rather than it actually being any more difficult. The only thing you may struggle with is knocking the hub off the bottom of the strut, but it's pretty straightforward, to be honest. So that's what we're going to do next. So hopefully you're feeling pretty confident and you'll get this done without any snags. Right, so now we've got the back sorted, we're going to move on to the front ones. The fronts are pretty much, it's the same concept, you know, you're undoing mounts up top, one at the bottom, but there's just a little bit more going on. So what you want to do is there's a pinch bolt down here. You'd have to undo that, and that takes two 18 mils. You're going to have to remove the drop link. You can either do that from the top where it connects to the strut or the bottom where it connects to the anti-roll bar, and that's 17. So on these ones, I've already tried this, but I can actually just remove this with the spanner and it doesn't spin. But you might get unlucky and the bolt is spinning, you know, the whole drop link instead of, or the ball joint inside the drop link instead of just undoing the bolt. So if that happens, you'll need, I think it's a 5 mil to go in the end to hold the, you know, the bolt still, and then you can use the spanner to undo the nut. You've also obviously got the lines up here again. So I think in the back I was calling them like the ABS lines, but I think they're like speed sensor lines or something. Not really sure, but yeah, got to remove those again. Also, you've got this brake line to undo, and then there's 3 bolts up the top, which hold the, the strut to the chassis, and those are 3 13 mils. And yeah, once you've got all that undone, you can wiggle the strut out of the hub, and it should just all come out. Sounds quite easy, but it's a little bit harder in practice. So yeah, let's get onto it. Right, so now we're ready to start taking stuff off. I'm going to start with the easy stuff. So we're going to pop off these lines first. Oh, there you go, and there's the second one. I had it right first time. With the 17 mil, we're going to do the drop link. So we'll just do this by hand now. Yep. Set our stuff off. Right, so that's under some tension because the strut's still connected. So the next one we're going to remove is the pinch bolt. So again, this is 2 18s. There we go, we're getting this one undone. So it's all coming apart quite easy because obviously we've had the coilovers on once and put these back on. So everything's been like re-lubed twice. So it might not be as easy for you. Depends on how how rusty everything is. There we go, so that's the pinch bolt out. So with that done, we should be able to bash the drop link out. So we can just bash this out. There you go, that's the drop link disconnected. So now what we've got to do is do the fret at the top. Instead of undoing the fret at the top, because obviously what we need to do is slide this hub down, which ain't gonna work by hand, but yeah, we need to slide the hub down the shaft so that this can, this can pop out. Then we'll undo the 3 bolts up the top, and then we can pull the whole thing out in one. If I took it out now, if I undid the top 3 now, it'd be really hard to get this out because the whole arm would sag, and there'd be nothing holding the strut up to the top. So you'd have to, force this part with your hands, which ain't gonna happen. So yeah, I got to hit this really. Right, and there we go. So you can see now this is all flopping about. So now we can undo the 3 at the top. Right. So that's those 3 13s removed. So now we're going to go back underneath, and we just got to wrestle it out really. Right, so this is really just a case of wiggling stuff around until it pops out. There you go, that was quite easy. He says this drop link's the wrong side of that drive shaft, so there we go. Get stuck on it. There we go. Right, so there it is, that's the whole thing out. Right, so now we've got the spring compressed, it's all wrapped up in the towel. Pretty much exactly the same, as last time. This time though, the bolt that you want to undo is behind this little cap. Hopefully I've got the right size. No, I think it's a 21 actually. Right, so yeah, so that's a 21. Gonna do the same as last time. And there you go, and that's this one done. Right, so with the stock strut all disassembled, we're ready to put assemble the new one. What I've done is I've wound this collar all the way like as far down as I want to go, so I can put these on without having to compress the spring again, same as I did on the rears. What you want to do for this one is get this the sub top mount, slide that one on. Make sure your spring is lined up with the corner of the rubber mount that it is in, just like that. So you see it's like snug up in the corner. Then you want to get this washer, slide that one on. Yeah, we'll leave that one there. Then you want to get your top mount, slide that on. Now you've done all that, you can get this bolt. And these are the AP coilovers, and this bolt is 1 mil bigger than the stock one, so this one's 22. I'm going to do this one hand. Let's try to pick this up. There we go. unscrew this one by hand. Just a little bit. And there we go, that is it all assembled. One thing you will note is that these ones are actually handed. So luckily the AP Racing Coilovers are stamped. So we've got an R there for the right hand side. And yeah, I think even if you didn't have them stamped, you should just be able to, you know, figure it out by putting them next to each other and just lining up all the mounts. So everything's in the same spot here. So we're good. Yeah, so that's that one. I'm going to tighten this up properly and then take it to the car, and we're ready to put it back in, which is quite nice. So yeah, let's go do that. Okay, so with the coilover all assembled, we're ready to put it back in. So what I like to do is I like to come in at the top bit up there first, and then you can position the bottom of the strut into the hub. And if you wiggle this around, there you go, like that, you can put it in. As you can see, I've got this in back front at the moment because this little bit here on the strut is what needs to sit in between the pinch bolt at the back. So you want to rotate it round. There you go, now it's slid in. Grab your pinch bolt. Yeah, so we'll put it on that side. Slide the pinch bolt through. Yeah, so if the pinch bolt doesn't go through, it's probably because the strut is in the wrong place. So it'll either be too low or too high. So you can just try razor lower it. Although it should just slot into place. There we go. Just leave that hand tight for now. We can clip our lines back in. There you go, like so. Now this bit's not much fun, but you want to try and line up the top. Am I going to be able to lift that? Probably not. I might need to get the jack for this bit. Yeah, that's what happened. We're going to have to jack up the bottom of the hub. You can just do this from the ball joint bolt. That's what I normally do. So just jack it up and try and guide the 3 bolts at the top up through the holes they need to line up with. Now it is easier to stand up. There's should have showed you really, but on the top mount there is a guide pin, which I can show you again when we get it back up. But yeah, you need the guide pin towards you in this case. There we go, it's all lined up. Let's just keep going. There you go, with that in. So now we need these 313s. Okay, and we're just going to install those up on the top to hold the strut in. Just going to do them hand tight for now, just so that the strut doesn't fall down, but they don't need to be super tight at this point. Now you want to grab your drop link. You're going to put, let me get this pole. Here you go, so in this orientation, you need to get the bottom half into the drop link, the anti-roll bar. Here you go, and the top into the coilover. Again, I'm just going to put these bolts on hand tight, just to hold it all in place while we're still faffing. And there you have it. We just got to tighten everything up, so I'll quickly do that off camera. But that is it. That's the coilover installed. Right, so there we go. That's the end of the video. I hope it was easy to follow. If you've got any suggestions or feedback, make sure to leave them in the comments. I do want to keep improving these videos, so feedback is greatly appreciated. If you've got any suggestions for what you want me to cover next, maybe something could be something on the Mini, or just a topic in general, I can always try and make a video on that. Follow my Instagram, link is down in the description. I've started uploading slightly more regularly, and I'm going to try and stick to it now. So yeah, hopefully there'll be some cool stuff that might interest you over there. Like, comment and subscribe and all that sort of jazz. And then finally, I think we're just going to cut to the B-roll. You can just see the car on the coilovers. We've not slammed it, so it's not really that interesting, but I'll put it there just so you can see it. But yeah, that's it. So thanks all for watching. Leave any feedback in the comments, like and subscribe. Thank you very much.